In today's intentional conversation, you'll meet Jim DeGaetano. He's the CEO of Diamond Wealth Advisors. Jim brings clarity to the concept of wealth management, which brings stability to the financial success of people's future. Jim DeGaetano, CEO of Diamond Wealth Advisors. Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
How's your day going so far?
Wonderful.
Good.
Even better now that I'm here.
Well, let's see if we can do something about that.
That sounds great.
Tell me a little bit about what you do.
We provide emotional financial clarity for people. Basically, we help people not run out of money when they retire, Jeff, which is a big thing.
Yeah.
If I'm going to put it in a very quick statement, it would be we give people their time back so they could focus on their purpose.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
And so what's the passion behind that for you? What drives that?
The passion is, I think everyone has God-given talents, and you want to utilize those talents that fit.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been good with finances, but most importantly with people and understanding them, having an empathy for their situation, wanting to educate people to make smart decisions. And when it comes to finances, it's something people worry about. They get concerned about. And when you're concerned and you're worried about something that you can't be an expert in, it really spends a lot of energy, negative energy, that affects your ability to go out and do what really you're meant to do in life. So my passion, people ask, what's your why?
Yeah.
My why is helping others with their why.
Okay.
Through conversations, learning them, seeing how we can get to that destination that they want. And that gives me personal satisfaction to help others with their why.
Good. What, so where are the challenges, like particularly the landscape that we've been through and traveled through over the last, I'll say decade, has been really complex.
Yeah.
And then going out of one administration into another administration, what do you see as the big challenges in the next, say, 3 to 5 years that we want to watch?
There's a lot of challenges in the world in general, but we're talking specifically business and in the business of wealth management, I guess. One of the things that's interesting, I think, in our industry, there's a lot of communication, and the messaging is really important.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing about communication, especially in my industry, is the assumption that it's actually taken place.
Yeah.
And I think in our industry, what you're going to see is a lot of consolidation in the next 3 to 5 years. The bigger players are only getting bigger. We're seeing that in our industry with LPL taking over Commonwealth.
What do you mean? What do you mean by consolidation? And like,
so the rate of technology has really moved quickly with AI, and adoption will continue to do so. And what happens is those take resources, those take talent, those take leadership to be able to do that. And so smaller firms have a greater difficulty competing with firms that have greater resources to be able to provide a deliverable and a message, and to be able to communicate in the way that people want to communicate. Each generation digests information differently, but it's moving at such a fast pace right now. And there's so many different mediums in which people can actually get information. So how do you provide that? How do you offer it? How do you have a consistent message across the whole business? And so I think you're going to see continued, and the average advisor is getting to the point where they are looking to retire. So you're going to have a massive wave of advisors that retire, leave the industry. We're going to need more. Just because you have technology doesn't mean you lose the human presence. We need that, because behavior is the overwhelming reason people are successful financially, Jeff. And you need humans to help guide humans. But we can use technology to make that better and help the outcomes. So 3 to 5 years, you have the rate of technology increasing. You're going to have consolidation across industries. You are always going to have fear out there.
Yeah.
Right now, where we are right now, is this is April here of 2025, we are seeing a level of negativity that we have not seen in a long time.
Interesting.
I'm a contrarian, so there's a saying: be fearful when people are greedy, be greedy when people are fearful. I'm not saying for you to be greedy, but at the same token, things do end up reverting to the mean. So we don't make investment decisions based on emotion or unemotional, but we do know when people get too emotional, one way or the other, it presents opportunities.
Yeah.
So opportunities will still be there, but there will always be fear that seems to guide human emotion. and that we are in the business of managing that emotion.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of unknowns, right?
Yeah, there will always be unknowns. There will always be uncertainty. It's the level of the uncertainty, and people are used to a certain normalcy, a certain pattern.
Yeah.
Sure, everyone wants change, but not in their life, not on their doorstep.
Right.
When that happens,
Right.
they feel a little uncomfortable,
Right.
right? And so our job is to manage that appropriately.
So what does success look like then for you as an organization
Hmm.
and for your clients?
Well, uh, for an organization, our success depends on our clients.
Mhm.
Our success is directly correlated with the level of trust that others place in us. The more people that place their trust in us, the greater level of success we have. And our processes are dictated on creating and garnering and continuing that level of engagement in trust, because that's the business we're in. But we could look and quantify that. From my standpoint, our goal for Diamond Wealth Advisors is to serve 1,000 families and work with 1,000 households to be able to help them in their pursuit of happiness, of whatever that means to them.
Mm-hmm.
I use that term happiness, Jeff, but which to me is really short-term joy. We're really looking at joy, right? How do
Yeah.
you, and we ask them, and people define joy in their own terms.
Sure.
Money may not be important, but what it does offer is time. And when you look at happiness, it's really moving from time poverty to time affluence. And if you have security from a financial standpoint, and you have an advisor that can guide you and ask the right questions to help you gear toward having more time in your life, there may be only 24 hours in a day, but time expands when you increase efficiencies in anything. So our business is in the process of increasing efficiencies exponentially with current technology that's out there and will be out there. And our clients are going to be a benefactor of that in how we help them live their life the way they want to live it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So you mentioned wanting to serve 1,000 clients.
right now we're at 500,
Okay.
and so we say, hey, we like to double, and that's a 3-year goal for us. Frankly, I'm also a share owner and partner with Carson Group, which is a collective of advisors like myself and firms like myself. Our goal is to serve 1 million households,
Okay.
and we have a longer way to go there. I think we're around 60,000 families right now, but it's always good to have a goal.
Sure.
And life is just goalposts. It's just a bunch of different goalposts that you keep
Yeah.
moving forward. Once you reach the goal,
Mm.
you look back and, hey, it's the journey that you really appreciate.
Yeah.
Having the perception, it's interesting, and I don't want to digress, but I was doing a presentation at Shippensburg University the other day, and they were asking me to speak on the mastering the art of communication for oral and written. And perception kept coming up,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if I have a piece of paper, I'm looking at you right now, but if I have a piece of paper and I write a 6 on it, I see 6, you see a 9, right?
Right.
And so perception is really important in our world,
Yeah.
and that's not going to change.
No. What do you do in your team? How do you stay how do you stay on top of the product, I'll say, how do you stay on top of the know-how of what's going on? Because everything is so consistently changing,
Yes.
right? The landscape changes, the formulas change, the life expectancy of people changes,
Yeah.
everything's changing. So how do you stay on top of it all? Like, how do you become tuned in to the ever changing environment that you're in?
Well, I think the way, when you had asked earlier, we want to grow and how we want to serve 1,000 families. That's through people, process, and leadership. You need the right people, because you can't. I, as the CEO, can't do all. You just can't. You have to have the right people to stay on top, and partners to stay on top of all the ever changing laws. What did Ben Franklin say? The only thing that stays the same is death and taxes. That's the only certainty in
Mhm.
life. And all we deal with is managing that uncertainty. So you have to have the right people that can focus on managing the regulatory environment, managing what's going on. For analyzing companies or investments as part of overall strategies. We have teams of PhDs, people that are far more intelligent than I am on that type of thing. But then we also have to have the right advisors, the right the right people in the arc, if you will,
Sure.
to be able to do that. And that's the constant, I think, struggle for any CEO, any leader, to make sure your organization is a single heartbeat. Okay. Yet they're all different people, right?
Yeah.
And you want to manage that talent appropriately. I coach a little league team, right? And it doesn't make sense for me to take a kid who's 9 years old that's never played before and maybe who can't really catch well and have that boy catch. You want to put people in positions they can succeed, and you have to understand their talent.
Yeah.
Um, it kind of reminds me, I think it was Albert Einstein that said, everyone's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a wall, that fish is going to think they're stupid, right?
Sure.
And so from a team, we want to make sure that we put all of the players, vendors, employees, partners, advisors, everyone that's involved, just in the right place that they need to be now, but also a projection of where they want to go to utilize their talents in the way that they can continue to go. That allows us to keep the people we want to keep. And so we can continue to operate as kind of a big family, if you will. And so that's how we stay on top of things, because if I can't delegate that, there's no way I could potentially stay on top of everything. I got to make sure that we just have the ball team kind of
Yeah.
playing and operating appropriately, if you
Yeah.
will.
How many people are you in your
We're,
organization?
we're really small at the diamond level. Now,
Yeah.
as a partner with Carson, they're much bigger, but focusing on Diamond Wealth Advisors, we have 6 now in our office in Carlisle, and we have 4. We just opened an office in Virginia as well too. And the plan is to continue to open more offices on the East Coast.
Okay. So, with all the sensitivities of compliance and all that
Love
goes on,
compliance.
right? How do you ensure
Nobody ever said that.
Yeah. How do you ensure that everything's being done right?
Well, we have processes, and there's checks and balances. In a prior world, I was an auditor, and as a CPA, I worked for a big corporate firm, and so internal controls are really important. Technology plays a role in that, but we work with our partner Carson, and they have a whole compliance team that makes sure that any trades are reviewed. We have an internal process that all plans are reviewed from a team-based approach. We've really adopted that with clients. It doesn't do a client any good to establish a wonderful relationship with an advisor, and then that advisor dies, right? Or something happens that we
Right.
just can't control. We want them to have deep relationships with an advisor, but we want them to do it in a team-based approach, so other advisors also know the plan and can step in. And it actually has been a really good environment, and clients really appreciate that as well, because it's more than just one person, it's the whole team.
Yeah. Yeah. So, tough learnings. Like,
Yeah.
what's been the tough stuff that you've learned
Uh,
about yourself, maybe about realities of life? And because this is a serious topic in life.
it is. It is. So the journey I've taken has been one that's been kind of interesting, and I started my firm almost 8 years ago. I had been a top producer at a national firm, and there's just too many conflicts of interest. And it was then where I kind of let go of fear, because I had a really good situation and set up, but I knew I could do better. I knew I didn't have the tools necessary to really do what I thought would be in the client's best interest. But when you make a decision to leave, to kind of go out on your own,
Yeah.
and you start from nothing and scratch, you need support. Definitely patience. My mom used to always say patience is a virtue.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was born with a lot of it. I think you have to kind of learn
Yeah.
to kind of accept that. But confidence is really important, and just believing in yourself. Um, I think that the most difficult thing lately that I've had to deal with would be, as a business owner, a small business owner, going from a practice to a business. And not a lot of people think about that. In our industry, there's a ton of solo advisors or small advisors that they have wonderful careers serving their clients, and it's a practice, right? They hone that skill. But when you actually turn it into a business where you have to step a little bit aside from the day-to-day advisory duties and actually focus on all the other stuff, it's a big change.
Yeah.
Because it changes the conversations you have with clients that you've worked with, the relationships, and you have to have a lot of trust in the people that you bring around you. Because most small business owners and practitioners can be control freaks,
Right.
and so you have to let go. So for me, in a weird way, this sounds crazy, but it was rather spiritual when
Mhm.
you're letting go of things and just understanding that things will work out. And as a practitioner, being in the world that we live in of investments, we understand that the two paths are really, the world ends or it doesn't. And if it doesn't end, people still need to buy diapers. People still need to eat. People
Right.
still need to do things. And as investors, we profit from the fact that whoever runs those companies is going to look to get a solid return on that investment. And we invest in those companies that are top players in that particular industry. And so I think just being patient, enjoying the journey, has been more important to me. As a planner, you always want to look in the future. But I heard something the other day. Let's see if I can get it right. That if we spend all our time focusing on future moments and we put greater weight on those future moments than what's right in front of us,
Yeah.
that's kind of how we basically miss our whole life,
Right.
because life's just a series of current moments.
Right.
And so trying to find the time during the day to have a current moment, not just with the clients, that's easy because you're just there with them, but with your employees and with other people and even when you leaving work where it is, to be able to spend time with your family and be with them.
Yeah.
As business owners and as CEOs, sometimes that's tough because you do have the burden of everyone else every day as multiple decisions over and over and over.
Yeah.
And being in the moment to do that, I think, is important.
So I want to go back to when you made the decision to come out of, I'll say, the corporate world and start your own thing. I remember when I did it, it was, gosh, it's coming up on 30 years ago.
Wow. Wow.
And I never forget the day I went down into my basement. I said, okay, I guess I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I found the business. I did the proposals. I took
Yeah.
out the trash, printed my own stuff, brought the checks to the bank.
Mhm.
It's quite a moment in pivotal moment in our times as
Yeah.
entrepreneurs stepping out into the world. What was your experience?
You know, it's interesting. I had a weird feeling that you were going to ask me that question today. Very odd. But mine was an interesting one, Jeff. So this was probably close to 20 years ago when I left the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been working for a CPA firm. Then I took a job that traveled me all over the world. I was single. It was great. And then I reconnected with my girlfriend, now my wife at this time, and I wanted to settle down. And this wasn't the life I wanted to lead. I didn't, if I would have continued the trajectory, I would be sitting in front of you talking about being my experience as a S&P 500 executive or mid-cap company running it, what it's like. But I don't think I would be happy inside with who I would have been. It just wasn't what my soul wanted.
Yeah.
And so there was something called a JetBlue incident. You may remember this when I bring this up. So this was almost 20 years ago, and essentially it was at LaGuardia Airport, and JetBlue held passengers 8 hours in a plane on the tarmac. Well, I was on the plane next to it.
Mm.
We had been delayed 2 hours, and then we sat on a plane for 8 hours. Now, there were babies crying, Jeff, and now I didn't have kids at the time. I wasn't married, but at the same token, now having kids, I could not imagine having a young baby on a
Yeah.
plane 8 hours, not being able to feed them or do anything. And then I was on my way to Sao Paulo, Brazil. So almost 24 hours in the plane. So the bottom line is I had a lot of time to think about what I wanted in life. And I wrote a mission statement. And that mission statement was basically to make a positive impact in the world. I just didn't feel like I was doing that in my current position
Mm-hmm.
in management. And I thought about what I had to offer, what God had kind of offered me as a skill, and that was just being smart financially and being able to relate with others. And so I thought the best approach was to go out and and create financial strategies for people so that they wouldn't be concerned about their financial life, so that their worry of running out of money or not being able to, do what they wanted to do in life, that they could do. And again, kind of like we said earlier, to save their time to focus on their purpose. And I would do that through education, empathy, listening to them. So essentially, I left a very nice paying 6-figure job. And within 1 month, as I had reconnected with my soon-to-be wife, I got engaged, I bought a townhome, and I quit my job. And I just said, I'm not going to look back. And that's what happened.
Yeah. Any any moments of being overwhelmed?
Sure.
I mean,
Who doesn't?
I've never been overwhelmed before, but I don't know, maybe you have.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. More so early on
Yeah.
in my career, not understanding things.
How'd you handle
Uh,
it? What'd you do with that?
You learn from it. Uh, kind of an examination of conscious of what you learned from. I'll give an example. Early in my career, I remember having a conversation with a potential client, Jeff. These people were going to retire, and they had a successful business, and they were going to um, have a lot of money when they retired, to the point we're talking tens of millions of dollars, enough that I would say that they're fine. They're going to be fine. And they're asking me how they're going to retire. How are they going to have enough money to make it? And I almost laughed, my inexperience at the time, years ago, because I thought they were telling a joke, but they weren't. And what I realized is they know how to run a business. They know how to make money. They didn't know how to retire. They didn't know what was next. That's really what they were asking.
Mm-hmm.
And so, fortunately, I kind of understood that. But you get overwhelmed with not understanding how to handle things, and being unprepared. When you are prepared, I think that kind of changes. And so the I don't really exhibit a lot of that now. Being overwhelmed, I guess, is something that comes in my life when I try to do too much.
Yeah.
And that's probably the issue more so, is trying to do too much when I need to kind of rein it back a little bit.
Yeah. How have you helped clients or even managed in your own circumstance? We went through a pretty difficult time period about 5 years ago. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The sky was falling. The
Yeah.
pandemic really hit a lot of businesses differently.
Yeah.
Some hard.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of businesses did really well
Yeah.
through that period as well. What was your experience through 2020 and onward into today?
Uh, Fear was definitely big in
Yeah.
2020. Um, that emotion is not necessarily bad for garnering clients in my world. It
Mhm.
actually is positive. We tend to get more clients during recessions than we do during
Yeah.
expansions or bull markets. People think they can do it themselves if they see their 401ks getting better. So it didn't hurt. I pushed the gas. I actually wrote 2 books. They came out at exactly the same time because of publishing delays and whatnot, Jeff. But it was a time that I chose to go after it, where other people in our industry, I noticed, were kind of taking a break and a pause. We used it as an opportunity to enhance our messaging, to reach out more frequently than we normally would,
Mhm.
because we knew people were concerned about what was going on.
Yeah.
And I think that really helped our business coming out of COVID, frankly.
Yeah. It's good. Um, were there any big decisions that you had to make in that time period?
Big decisions during COVID. We didn't. Uh, we decided at that time I was looking at expanding. Obviously, we decided not to do that.
Mhm.
While we did continue to grow our client base, we decided to just we could work remotely too.
Yeah.
And so we had already planned we do business continuity planning. So big decisions. The biggest decision I made at that time was to to complete 2 books. That was the big decision at that time. Business-wise, the decision that was made was to say, we're gonna focus on our core business. We're not gonna try to open up other offices. We're not gonna add new advisors at this time. We're gonna focus on serving our existing clientele, and as a result, getting introductions from existing clientele that was not feeling like they were getting, or excuse me, getting introductions and referrals from people that might not have felt much love where they were at their other firm,
Yeah.
or knew they needed to get started at some point for retirement.
Yeah. Last question, just tell us a little bit about the value base that your value set. You must run into a lot of different people with uh, a lot of different values. I know in our business,
Yeah.
we could do business with almost anybody,
Mhm.
but we really don't want to do business with just anybody.
Yeah,
What do you
yeah.
run into? Tell me a little bit about your value set.
Well, we have created clarity is our value, right? So when you walk in our office, the first thing you see is a big word. It says, clarity begins with a plan. And so I'm a big acronym guy. Maybe it's just because I don't remember things otherwise, but clarity is our acronym. And so we use that not just for clients, but also for our stakeholders, our employees, our vendors, our partners. And so clarity begins with a plan. We listen well, we act with purpose, we respond in a timely manner, we invest according to the plan. There is truth and transparency in conversation that we have, and you are important.
Mhm.
So when I look at what our value system is, that's it. And so one of the things that I did not do when I first got in the industry of helping people make smart decisions about their money and moving forward in a positive direction in their life was really be selective in
Mhm.
those that you offer your time and energy and service to. I wanted to be all things to all people 2 decades ago when I got in this industry, and I realized, no, I shouldn't have to care more about your life and your financial direction than you.
Right.
And so we have this process, the Fruitful Retirement, and part of that process, there's a conversation, and that path to clarity conversation, Jeff. And we ask a lot of questions that people might not have ever thought of before.
Mhm.
But while they're interviewing us, we're interviewing them. We want to work with the right type of person. And we do the same thing if we're whoever we're hiring to do work on a renovation, or we're hiring to be a vendor for someone. We want the right type of philosophy, the right type of culture. And there's a type of person that we're looking for. And it's people that are engaged, people that do want to move forward, and that understand, if it's a client, they do understand there's a cost for what we do.
Sure.
But cost only comes into play if there's an absence of value. And it's our job to make sure that we can uh, show that value appropriately. But anyways, the value to your original question was clarity. That's what we're trying to do,
That's good.
offer clarity.
I love the simplicity of that.
There is brilliance in simplicity, I'm
Yes.
told.
Yes.
Or I'm just not smart enough to be too difficult.
Or sometimes we like to just complicate.
Yeah, that is the human thing.
So Jim, with the advent of AI and
Mhm.
all sorts of technology coming to the surface, how do you, as a small business owner, look at and evaluate the emerging technologies that are coming up? Because we can't just grab all of them and use them. And how do you evaluate them and decide which ones you're gonna deploy into your own organization?
That's a great question. There's a chart that we have from, I think it's 2 years ago. It's a one pager that has the technologies out there that can
Mhm.
help in our world. And while I might be speaking about wealth management, every other industry has a chart that has technologies that can benefit their industry. But 2 years ago, now I look at the chart today, and it went from 50 to 450, and it's only going to continue to increase.
Yeah.
So every business owner, of course, there's the bigger the business, the more technologies may come about. But it becomes very difficult to ascertain which technologies, how they communicate with each other, and how that works. And
Yeah.
so stepping back, I think first is understanding your process of how you sell your product, serve your clients, whatever that is, and the touch points involved. And for example, in our industry, everyone has metrics. Our industry is one of the metrics is what's the average clients or number of households an advisor can serve. And if you're an executive in a different industry, you look at whether it's construction or whether you're selling a product, what is that metric?
Yeah.
And the more that an advisor can serve, obviously the more revenue you can have as a business. But does that detract from the level of service that you're offering?
Right.
The great ingredient is that you can serve more clients, but you get the same or better level of service. The only way to do that is to reduce the manual nature of certain actions that really aren't needed, that you could do without, that take time away from the advisor or an operations person or whoever that person would be in your industry. So first find out the process and say, well, what what could we do without?
Right.
Get rid of those. Um, and then see what a computer could do for you. So with artificial intelligence, there's a lot of things, and I'll give an example. One of the things is note taking that just came out,
Mm-hmm.
and so there are these firms, and they've made it compliant, and they can listen. It saves the average advisor 6 days a year.
Hmm.
6 days a year. So as a business owner, do you give them off? Well, no, you'd like them to keep
More
working,
productivity,
but you
right?
got more productivity. So time is money. Every business owner should be looking at how to utilize technology. Every industry is going to be different, whether it's software for client communication, for even major HR executives I talk to use chat GPT and other of these technologies to
Yeah.
get a base framework. That doesn't mean they're not updating it, but it's saving them the time to have to manually put in, the base template for guides or guidelines, regulations, whatever they're going to do for their handbooks. So I think every business owner should be looking at ways to do it. The difficulty is in what's the right technology and how the technologies communicate. And now they have new technologies that are like a connective tissue that
Right.
basically communicates with the other technologies.
Yep.
So I'm not sure if all small business owners are going to be able to hire someone to be able to do that. But you can outsource a firm that says, I need you to look at these technologies and analyze my business. But as a business owner, you have to understand your process.
You mentioned that a single word, clarity, right? Sign on
Yes.
your wall in your business as a guiding value. How do you how do you help stay consistent in providing clarity for your clients, keeping clarity in your organization? Like, how do you actually execute on making clarity be consistent in your organization?
I don't know where I heard this or read it, but I feel like sometimes you have to say 5 things in 5 different ways, f
Mhm.
5 times for people
Sure.
to to get it and understand it. And I think I mentioned in a comment earlier that communication's an interesting thing,
Yeah.
and clarity comes from adequate communication. It needs to be concise, it needs to be clear, engaging, it needs to be timely, responsive, well understood. I think I just defined successful communication in 10 words or less. I don't know, Jeff, but how do we do that? And I think, um, if you step back, I've always thought there's different kind of leaders. And if you look at good to great, good leaders, there's great leaders, then there's visionary leaders.
Mhm.
And just the basic leader of an organization basically has to have the right vehicle. You got the right vehicle, and you got to get the right people there. So you have to make sure first that you got the right people in the car, and that's a good leader, because if you don't have the right people in the car, they're never going to listen to the message. They're not going to listen to the messenger or understand the message, and no matter how well it's articulated, no matter how many times, it becomes fruitless. So that's a good leader, is you get the right people in. Great leader, you have to do that, but then you got to fill up the tank. That's the motivating factor.
Yeah.
That's to say, how do you motivate people? And there are wonderful assessments, disc assessments, and other things to understand different personalities.
Sure.
And so that comes into play. But the messaging still has to be consistent, whether it's oral, whether it's written, whether it's in person, whether it's remote, virtual, etc. Consistent. Hear it over and over and over. And then you have visionary leaders, right? So you still have to get the right people in the vehicle, the right vehicle. You have to put the gas in, you have to motivate. The difference is the visionary leader provides the map. And I think that's important because as a leader of an organization, people do want to know where they're going and why. And if you can articulate that in a way and do it over and over and over, they're going to get it. And then you want to measure it, right? Those smart measurements or however you decide.
Sure.
But you keep it simple. If you make things too complex, energy gets diverted, right? Singular point of focus. I remember my grandfather used to tell me, he just used to say, I never weighed myself. If my belt buckle got tight, you know what? I'd change my behavior. I'd work out a little more. I'd eat differently, Jeff, et cetera, et cetera. So, you can have some firms have way too many metrics and it just diverts. And then people play the game of working the metric to get their bonus or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Focus, keep it simple.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's really what can be really helpful when you're looking at clarity, because clarity really comes from the messaging, but it's got to be understood in the terms that people understand.
Yeah. It's good.
In my industry, what's fascinating, and one of the things we say is we speak normal layman's language.
Right.
And if I'm talking about alphas and betas and Sharpe ratios, I've lost people right away. Most people. Now the engineers may be a little different. They like that. Some CPAs do too. But you want to speak to people how they understand it. Meet them at their level.
Jim, thank you very much for taking time out of your day to spend time with us.
Thank you, Jeff. This was fun. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us today for Intentional Conversations. Our hope is that this will inspire you at some level, something you've heard today that will be a takeaway for you. Maybe you'll share it with a friend or a family member or someone in business. Intentional conversations are exactly that. They're made to be intentional. I hope you have some.